Here we are. It is Friday. I'm back. Took a break. Sometimes I have to travel, guys. I've been traveling a lot, doing a lot of retreats and workshops. But now I'm gonna play some music. We're gonna talk. If you have questions, we're gonna go over any questions you have. I've already got quite a few questions, so. So just hang out with me. For about an hour, just gonna hang out. Let me know where you're coming from. You can sing along if you know this one. You know this one. I remember when we used to sit in the government square in Trench Town. Okay, hang on a second. Let me turn this up just a little bit. Hey, Ben! Hey, Ben! Nice to have you here, brother. Sing along if you know it. Let's see here. Here we go. Where was I? I remember when we used to sit in the government yard in Trench Town. Oh, and the hypocrites as they mingle with the good people we meet. The friends we had and the friends we lost along the way. In this bright future, you can't forget your past, so dry your tears as I'll say. Sing along, you know the chorus. Here it comes. No, I'm gonna cry. No, I'm gonna cry. Little darling, don't shed no tears. No, I'm gonna cry. Said I remember when we used to sit in the government of Trench Town, and then Georgie would make a firelight, and it would burn up through the night, and we would cook corn and porridge on the child share with you. I love this next line so much. My feet is my only carriage, so I guess I gotta push on through. But while I'm gone, everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. So no woman can cry. Oh no, I'm gonna cry. You know what? I'll just finish there. Guys, happy Friday. I just felt like playing a song. Okay. So yeah, this channel is not a music channel. Maybe it should be. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that'll be another channel. Maybe someday that I put together. But this is not a music channel. But what is life without music? Iron Tamer, David Whitley is here. Good to see you guys. Welcome. Now see, Iron Tamer is actually he's a good friend of mine, and he is a mentor. And this is a guy that I first met in 2016. Actually, you guys might have caught the why didn't we? Okay, so this is a question, Dave. So first of all, whenever Dave and we were in the very first group to train with Wim Hof, and you didn't bring your guitar out. Actually, I did not know that you were a musician until much later. And so, yeah, what we'll do is we'll do a Zoom jam. Now you've got some skills, my friend. So I can sing and play chords, and if need be, I can also occasionally do a little bit of pentatonic. I'll throw a little pentatonic in there. Little blues. I'll Anyway, hey, real quick, Dave Whitley is. I just happen to know that he's doing something this weekend. Dave, I go wheedly, wheedly, wheedly. Exactly. I've seen you play though, my friend. I've seen you play on some of these videos. You can do some whittly whittly. That is for sure. But let's see, Dave. While you're here, I know we talked about this last time you were on we did a YouTube live not too long ago. By the way, guys, if you're here, if you got questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We're talking breathwork. We're talking supplements today. We're talking cold training. Pretty much anything you want to talk about, you can throw those in the chat. But while you're doing that, Dave Whitley is doing a program that God knows the whole world needs a lot more of. This is for fathers, especially entrepreneurs, but I don't think there's anybody out there who is a father who doesn't need some coaching. And one of the things about coaching, as a coach, I need coaching. I think there's a lot of times we undervalue what a coach can do for you. So, Dave, if you've got like a little blurb, please put it in there. I'd love to share that, and throw that in the chat. But yeah. So I was gonna do Smashing Pumpkins. Smashing Pumpkins just came out with a new album, and I didn't know about this, but someone in my Patreon club was like, "Hey, Jesse, I'm pretty sure you like rock music. Something there's something that's me. I feel like that's you. You might know this band, Smashing Pumpkins." And of course, I was a kid in the 90s. So like I grew up with Smashing Pumpkins, Silverchair, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, along with all the classics with, Zeppelin and all the way up through, and some of the metal stuff too, like Iron Maiden a little bit, Alice in Chains. Oh my God. Yeah. So Alice in Chains was huge. That's what I should be playing. I was in a cover band in the early 2000s. We did all these Alice in Chains. You gotta love Alice in Chains for their harmonies. The vocal harmonies are just badass. Not to mention just like, so what was the album? What was the album with the woman on the front? Like she's kind of like in the sand. That was like the big breakout album. I forget the name of that album off the top of my head. Help me out, my friends. Dirt. Yes. Oh my God. Oh my God. That album was okay. So there was a time back in my day, back in the olden days, there was a time whenever there was such a thing as an album. Like I think there's like nowadays it's lost a little bit because you can have a single and then you can pay all your bills with that one single. But these albums would be like a full experience. Like you put in the CD or the tape, because tapes were a thing too. You put these things in, and they like you would have a whole experience. Like I remember Offspring had one. Now, see, the thing is with Offspring. Now, okay, some of you guys are like, I thought we were going to talk about supplements. I thought we were going to talk about breath work. We are. Load me up with some questions, but I'm on a rant now. So bear with me. We will get to, I did get some random supplements in the mail. And so I'm trying to track down exactly where those came from. I also want to talk to you guys about the BreathSource app, which is something that this is kind of insider knowledge because I'll tell you why here in a minute. So all your questions, feel free, throw them in there, comment. Also, okay, that was really smooth. I'd like to thank our sponsor. This is the sponsor of our channel, Magic Mind. One of the cool things about Magic Mind is that I actually reached out to them. I was like, man, you guys are awesome. What can I do? Can I work for just free product, please? And that's almost exactly the deal that we have. So I can take this every day. Uh, but if you're looking for Magic Mind, you can check them out. Almost all my videos have a coupon code. Just check out any video on my channel and you'll find the coupon code for Magic Mind. So big thanks to Magic Mind. Okay. Yeah. I was on a rant about 90s rock. There was, I think in 1992, I think it was like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave actually knows. I would put Dave, I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine that Dave is going to have higher knowledge than I do on release dates. But I think it was 1992 that within that 1 year, maybe it was 91, might have been 91, like Metallica's Black Album came out, was it Pearl Jam 10? And then Nirvana Nevermind, Soundgarden Bad Motorfinger came out. It was just like all of these amazing albums came out in just 1 year. Like it was like the greatest year of rock and roll history, at least in the 90s. I think Guns N' Roses came out with Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 that year. It was just ridiculous. So anyway, Dave, if you have that link, put it in there. I want our audience to have access to that. Pantera. Oh my God. Yes, exactly. Pantera came out with the same, like, it was like an insane year for rock and roll that year. So I had an insane workout today. So I'm imbibing caffeine in the afternoon. I try not to do caffeine in the afternoon, but today is just, I got to. Hey, so yes, James, we'll get talking about that. Yeah, Dave, hit that link up as well. I recently had an email come through with quite a few questions, and James, we're going to get to your question as well. Let's see here. Bear with me just a second, and I'm going to find the email, and then I'll just start just going through with all of the stuff. Where is that email? Here it is. Awesome. Okay, so I've got the email. I'm going to get to you first, James, since you're here. And I don't know if I'm not sure if Doug is here. He goes under the handle YouTube just censored me again. So if you see that come up, then it's his. I don't know what he's doing on YouTube. But hey, you know what? If I would, I don't know. I might not be able to monetize because I played a protected song. But hey, that's okay. I'm all about protected songs. Let's see. I'm wondering. Hang on just a second. Let's see here. Did somebody's? Yeah, they're going to leave that at the door, right? So I'm getting something in the mail, but. Let's see here. Yeah, they're just leaving it there, I think. Yeah, they're taking a picture and leaving it there. Okay. So, hey, James going, he says, hey, Jesse, hope you're doing good. Thank you. I hope you are too. And happy Friday, guys. It's Friday. I'm so excited. This is the first Friday in a while that I've not been traveling. And as much as I do love workshops, retreats, I've been doing more private retreats and workshops than ever before. So that's why you're not seeing a lot of things advertised like, hey, come learn this from me. I'm getting booked mostly by private events, which is awesome for me because it's like, okay, great. I don't have to sell tickets. When you live the life of a breathworker, and that's all I do for a living now. I am a recovering English professor. Recovering. I don't know how long I'll have to recover from this, but when you live the life of an events organizer, when you organize events and you're waiting for people to sign up, it's this like, oh my God, everybody always signs up for the last minute. They always wait to the last minute. By the way, don't wait to the last minute with Inspire Fest. So if you go to jessecoomer.com, this is going to be an insanely awesome retreat. It's out in St. George, Utah. And it's at a place called, what is it called? It's this like homestead resort. It's this homestead eco resort. It's the very first language of breath absolute deep dive retreat, and it's in April. So the very end of April, the very beginning of May. Don't wait till the last minute. Anyway, so James says nasal breathing working really well for me, but sort of miss the Wim Hof method mouth breathing, a stressor exercise. Well, I mean, you can always go back to mouth breathing, but I'm never going to go back to mouth breathing. The only time I would say myself that I go to mouth breathing is if I cannot breathe through my nose. Like after, and this is an interesting thing. So after this broadcast, my nose will be stuffed up for a while. And this is actually part of the science of nasal breathing. So there's a lot of research that shows that, first of all, the more you use your nose, the better it works. So it's a use it or lose it type situation. The other thing that has been shown is not only does inhaling through your nose benefit all of everything down in everywhere, but it also benefits you to exhale through your nose. And if you don't exhale through your nose, you can get stuffed up sinuses. So I'm talking a lot, like I'm basically talking for the next hour. And even though I'm inhaling through the nose, you might notice that I always make a point to inhale through the nose, even when I'm talking, or at least I try to. You might catch me here and there making a little slip up. But yeah, I'm 100% nasal in and out. Even if I'm doing a technique that's traditionally, like with Wim Hof method, the problem I see so often is that a person will go straight to mouth breathing. And this is where I differ from other Wim Hof method trained, people that, like, I trained directly under. Actually, it's interesting. Of course, Dave's right here. He and I trained with Wim in the very first year that there was such a thing as a Wim Hof method certification. And I did all mouth breathing back then. And I'm not like bad mouthing mouth breathing. But what I am saying is that I think nasal breathing feels better. So I like, and it makes sense. There's reasons why I think it's more therapeutic to do nasal breathing. Now, not only does nasal breathing, even when you're doing heavy breathing, right? It's the weirdest thing to show off. But whenever I'm doing deep breath sessions, and if you're part of the Patreon club, you might be familiar with some sessions where I have a nasal breathing track where you just breathe along with me. There's one session called rain breathing, and I literally recorded myself breathing for, I think it was like a half hour in and out through the nose. And it's just, now you try doing that for an hour or a half hour. I forget how long I did it. You'll feel amazing. You're going to go places, my friends. And I started to research why nasal breathing, like even for integrative breathwork and altered state breathwork. So if you're familiar with my book, A Practical Guide to Breathwork, you're familiar with the concept of what I called in that book, altered state breathwork. Oftentimes we call it, we also sometimes call it integrative breathwork. So, these are styles of breathwork that are typically, they bring you into a non-ordinary state of consciousness, and they can be very therapeutic. So and most of them, I think there's a huge problem out there. And I'll see advertisements on my Instagram feed. I'll see advertisements on YouTube where you just see people like, and they're like they're going crazy, and it makes for great Instagram. I mean, it makes for great entertainment, right? But I've been working with people now in this space in a very deep way for years. I've been working since 2016. And so I've been doing it professionally since 2016. And over that time, I've trained a lot of people, and I've worked with enormous groups and all sorts of people from different walks of life, different goals, different issues. And the thing that I see more often than not is when a person, man, they just go hard and hard. And yes, they'll have an experience,
but oftentimes they don't know what to do with it. And there's no real what we consider integration that occurs. And ultimately that is the goal, because you want to integrate your emotions into your everyday life, into your existence. So I started experimenting, especially so when you have techniques like Wim Hof method is basically a modified Bastrika with Kumbakas. So that's from pranayama. So ultimately all of that is nasal. And so and you look at pranayama and these guys have been doing it for thousands of years. So a lot more experience than anybody else. And it's all nasal. I mean it's like I don't know of any pranayamas, techniques within pranayama that are not nasal. And so I started looking at that. Then I started getting into vivation, and that's what really changed 100% for me. That's whenever I really solidified. I was like, okay, I'm going to do nasal all the time. Now, in vivation, you don't have to do nasal all the time, just to kind of let you know. But in vivation, it's either in and out through the nose or in and out through the mouth. Actually, I think it was like 2019 that I really started to get interested in 100% nasal, even if it was heavy and hard breathing. So, hey, bearded hugs to you, my friend, Brandon. Yes, Freedom, Indiana. I love the name Freedom, Indiana. I think that's just a cool name. So we're here, we're neighbors. But I started really getting into nasal breathing when I learned Sudarshan Kriya, and that was in 2019-ish, something like that. I think it was 2019. And all of that is 100% nasal. And so I started researching, and one of the theories that a friend of mine who also has a fantastic YouTube channel, Performance Through Health. I don't know why nobody. I think the thing about Martin. So if you want to look this guy up, he's a brilliant guy. He lives in Australia. He's an Englishman who lives in Australia. So for an American guy like myself, I knew he was living in Australia, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's an English accent. And I don't know if you're like American, do you think English and Australian are sometimes hard to differentiate? Let me know in the comments, because sometimes it took a lot of me being friends with English accent and Australian accent for me to really be able to differentiate the two. That's just me. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but it took a little while, and then now I get it. Now I'm like, okay, the difficult one for me is if they are from New Zealand. So New Zealand and Australia sound so alike to me, so alike, and I still have not been able to get the New Zealand, that accent versus the Australian accent. So for those of you guys who are your English is a second language, I'm sure it all sounds kind of weird, but anyway, that's where that is. Getting back, anyway, Martin, I was going back and forth with him about this. Why is it that I get such a more profound, such a deeper, everything is better when I do all nasal, in and out? And we talked about the fact that by doing that, we are stimulating our olfactory nerve, and that is related to memory. And if we're looking at issues, and this is all theoretical right now, we don't really 100% understand it. And I would be willing to guarantee there's so many more people out there that say, no, mouth breathing is better. I enjoy it, but better. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that I enjoy nasal breathing better. And whenever I convince people to go into nasal only, most of the time people yeah, I see what you're talking about. It takes a minute to get used to that, but it's weird. It's really weird for me to go back to mouth breathing. And sometimes there's you've been to New Zealand, Dave, Iron Tamer Dave Whitley is called Iron Tamer Dave Whitley because he does feats of strength and skill. And I wish I could just kind of reach in and then like grab him, and then there would be this, over here is his face, and then we could start talking now, because so YouTube, you need to figure out this a new function to where I could just grab someone from the from the comments and bring them bring them in. You've been to you've been to England and Australia, never been to New Zealand. I was going to say, yeah, I've never been to either one of those places, but I work, some of you guys know, I work very closely with James Stewart. He's from Australia. And so I work with him all the time. And also my good friend, Kim Burles, I met him in Poland when we were doing some retreats with Wim Hof, and we were roommates, and we really hit it off. He's designed all my websites. So if you like my website, it's because Kim Burles from Canada, he designed them. Now, working with people in Australia when you're on this side of the globe is very difficult. It's like, okay, so what time is that for you? Because it's a big continent over there, and I think they have 3 time zones, but most of them are like, okay, it's midnight whenever it's noon here. I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to manage those, but hey, we make it happen. Getting back, I'm getting way off course here. The reason why I was bringing this up is the nasal breathing, and nasal breathing only has been. They do live in the future. They live in the future. You know, I oftentimes think about how they live in the future, and the people I work with. So some of you guys might know Mike Mayer from Take a Deep Breath, Tom Granger from Draw Breath. They live in England. And so they're always like, I'll wake up and I've already got a message. I'm like, yeah, I'm just now arriving at today. And they've been at today for a while. So anyway, I think that nasal breathing is where it's at. I will say that you cannot ramp the nervous system up as high nasal breathing. And I think that might be one of the reasons why I like it so much, because you can ramp it up a lot, but I think that having that nasal throttle has really been a pleasurable way for me to experience all kinds of breath work. And so, for instance, if you have taken the online course, the technique that I came up with myself, I based this off of a therapeutic technique with a research psychologist who I will be training with, and I'll be becoming certified in her techniques this summer. And it's going to be in my book, and it's already on the online course, the listening exercise. It's near the end because you need to learn the awareness exercise. There's exercises that you need to learn and digest before you get to that listening exercise. That is an integrative technique that is the most boring technique to guide someone else through. You'll see a lot of these other techniques that are hard and heavy, and I'm not disparaging these other techniques, okay, to say, oh, mine's so much better. I'm just saying that for a long time, whenever I guided people through this technique, I didn't think they were having an experience at all. I'm like, oh man, they're just laying there. And then just like I had in my own personal experience, then they come back and everybody, I've very rarely had anybody not have a profound experience with it. And there's a whole book that I've written that will be published in the fall of this year that talks about why that is. And of course, I've been very fortunate to make friends with a neuroscientist. And he read the book and he told me that he agrees with what I was thinking. I was like, yes. In fact, we went out bar hopping. I went out bar hopping with a neuroscientist. Neither one of us drank anything. He didn't drink anything because he doesn't drink. I didn't drink anything because I was trying to understand the 15-syllable words that he was using. So it was a trip. Anyway, James, thanks so much. So much for the content out there. And it's confusing at times to know what breathing technique is best for me as a person who suffers from anxiety. Again, brother, I would say, nasal is going to be king, especially if you suffer from anxiety. One of the things that we underestimate is the ability of our breathing to influence our nervous system in a negative way, even if we're doing something that we believe has a positive impact. And it may have a positive impact for other people. For me, honestly, I could ramp it up. Like, I'm the kind of guy who, it really works well whenever I ramp it up. But I have found that over time, the precision that nasal breathing has offered me has really been a big benefit. Let's see, we got some other questions in here, and I also have an email I need to answer some questions. So Ustaborn, hey, so he says, hi Jesse. How's it going, man? Hey, it's going well. It's Friday. I'm happy. I'm off this weekend. It's my wife's birthday this weekend. So, I don't know if I'm really off duty. I'll be probably one thing about my wife, and I don't know, guys, if you're married, or ladies, if you're married, I'm sure I know for me, I'll have like a birthday week almost. So if you were in my Patreon club, I posted my classic, and it's out there on the internet. I'm not going to tell you where it is on YouTube, but it is on a different YouTube channel, not on the main YouTube channel. In grad school, I did a one-man opera of the movie 300. So like I dressed up like a Spartan, and I went to this, it was like a poetry slam. And I was like, no, I'm going to go ahead. And this is when I was in grad school becoming an English professor. My professors were there and they're like, what the hell is Coomer doing? And I'm like, hey, this is whenever they were going to come out with the sequel, which I forget the name of the sequel of 300. But I heard that was happening. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to, in case everybody forgot what 300 was about, it's just about being a badass. That's like the only thing it's really, yes, there's history and there's cool things too, right? But it's just basically, would you like to be a badass, like witness badassery for 2 hours? Go watch this movie. I think I saw it like 4 times. So anyway, I can't really say much about my wife. This weekend is her weekend, so I guess I am on duty. Anyway, coming back, he says, I have a question. Is it normal that when breathing feels stronger with nose, if done unconsciously, you feel less energized than controlling it? Okay, so he says, put it better. Why, when you consciously breathe, even very lightly, will it always be stronger than just breathing, but not concentrating as much? Always wondered why this happens. Okay, so my friend, I appreciate the question. I may not have fully understood the question, but I think I get what you're saying. You might be saying, okay, first of all, breathing is something we share with our unconscious self, right? So this painting behind me, I had this done. There's a amazing artist that lives in my town. I went over and I tried at least to explain to her the language of breath philosophy. And this is what she came up with. And I love it. And so ultimately the language of breath is about creating a positive relationship between your conscious self and the unconscious part of you, which is an enormous, it's the vast majority of who we are, right? And so one of the things that we share, the conscious and the unconscious you, is our breathing. So when you're not thinking about it, the unconscious you takes over. And when you think about it, you take over. And I think what you're asking me, and please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, so let me know if I'm wrong, but I think what you're trying to get at is the fact that, hey, Iron Tamer, if you're gone, we miss you already. If you're still here, thanks for stopping in. But I think what you're saying is, why is it that my breathing is more forceful when I'm consciously aware of it? Now, that is not always going to be the case. It depends on your conscious awareness. One of the things in my first book on breathwork, A Practical Guide to Breathwork, plug, why not, right? This channel is sponsored by A Practical Guide to Breathwork. Find it on Amazon or Audible today. But anyway, one of the things that I talk about, I think in there, and then also I really hit on it in my next book, which is available this October, is that when we really become aware of ourselves, we can actually become so good at using the diaphragm that it's like a surgeon with a scalpel, We can become really, really good at that. However, oftentimes we're just not that good at it. And if you've ever seen a baby, I think we can all assume, right? We can all agree that babies are terrible surgeons. Right? You would not you would not want a baby performing an appendectomy on you, right? And that is for multiple reasons. But if you've ever seen a baby, I mean, they're just, they've got really very little muscular control. I mean, it's all or nothing. Like if you've been a father or a mother of a child, and that baby holds onto your thumb, man, they got a really good grip, and that's because they don't have the control. They've not developed the neuromuscular control that we have as older folks, as us old folks do. And so what happens is they're just going 100%. Now that is a representation of what I oftentimes will see in my clients with their diaphragm or with their intercostal muscles, any of the breathing muscles, is we have not developed neuromuscular control. Now, what you can do though in time, and that's why we call it a practice, not a performance, we can, yes, hey, thank you, Ustaborn. It proceeds to buy. Thank you. And babies, they don't have that control. What we have is the control. We can paint, and we can eventually, if you can become a surgeon if you have a steady hand. But you have to really have a great, sometimes we call it mind-body connection. I'm of the mind that the mind and the body are the same thing. It's just all like, I think we're going to learn a lot more about our organism as we go forward. But ultimately, I lost a foot because of a botched surgery. I knew whenever I went to that surgery that whenever the surgeon took out his pacifier and put on the mask, something wasn't right in that surgery room. But the thing is, with time and practice, you can become incredibly connected to your diaphragm. You can use that muscle just like you're using all the muscles in your hand, as if a surgeon uses all the muscles in her hand. And so it's important to remember that just because things are the way they are now does not mean that over time they will not change. If you've ever gotten stronger, if you've ever I think sometimes it's difficult to see it in our breathing because we don't have an objective outside measurement. So for instance, okay, I can lift this much. 3 years ago I could not lift this much, so I have an objective way of measuring that. It's far more subjective with breathing. So let's see. He says, I can explain the experience that made me go to the realization that I meant in the previous question. Okay, cool. He said, 3 years ago, I hurt myself breathing too forcefully for Wim Hof. Okay, you're not alone. A lot of us do that. I was euphoric, but not too much. Okay. So yeah, it's easy to overdo it when you're doing, especially you have to understand that there are techniques that are extreme techniques. Okay. He continues. So when I forced too much, my intercostal muscles kind of strained, and it's really painful to breathe. I want to keep on practicing, but I couldn't do as strongly as I used to. Well, here's the thing. I think that, hey, James, are you headed out? I really enjoy your content. I respect, love and respect from Dublin. Well, hey, brother, it's nice to have you. There's another accent. A whole new accent. We've got a language of breathworker who's coming from Ireland. So there will be a language of breath certified breathworker at the end of this year who's Irish. So your island will have someone I'm training directly this year in all of the language of breath. So you'll have to look him up. But anyway, getting back to Ustaborn's question, it's very easy to overdo it, especially with these extreme techniques. But oftentimes we are so disconnected from our unconscious self, or that sense of internal awareness, that we need something hard and heavy just to knock us over the head. I know that I did. Like, I started with pranayama, and it wasn't until I tried Wim Hof method that I was like, oh, wow, breath work. Wow. Well, it was because, I mean, Wim Hof method, especially, I mean, if you're practicing it like most people do, right? And hitting it really hard, it will hit you over the head. And it's a very like, you can't help but feel something, right? And then it's not until later on, whenever you become more aware of yourself, you develop that internal awareness, that you're like, wow, okay, so there's so much more that I can do. So I guess the big thing, you're asking me why it is that you were over breathing. I would say ultimately quality of breath, quality of movement. I mean, you look at, I don't care if it's diet, exercise, breath work, whatever it is, the quality of the thing is always better than the quantity, or at least it's always the preferred thing we look at first. So if a person is eating, they're eating a ton of greens, I'm going to say, okay, that's good. Typically, for most of us, that's great to eat a lot of greens. However, okay, are those greens organic? Are they sprayed with pesticides? So maybe let's look at the quality first, and then we can start looking at the quantity. Now, for most of my clients, because I also do nutritional training with a lot of clients, for most of my clients, just getting them eating something green, I'm just happy that's happening at first. And then we move into quality, but I don't wait a long time for that. I say, hey, listen, if you're going to do it, make sure the things that you're putting in your mouth are higher quality things, and I'm just happy that they're staying out of the middle sections of the grocery store. I mean, if you stay on the outside section of the grocery store, at least the way it's configured in the United States, those are the best. And then we have to start to pick and choose what we have from the outside of the grocery store as well. I'm very lucky that my sister raises her own chickens, so I can get eggs from her. And I live in an area where there's a lot of farming, so during the summertime, at least, we can get pretty fresh vegetables, at least here in Indiana. We don't have a lot of. It's not like we don't have any beaches. It's the people on the coasts that have all the beaches. And and here's the thing, okay, to my friends on the coast, just poking at you a little bit because I love you. Why do you still Photoshop your pictures? You already look hot. You're already like insanely attractive, and you're on the beach. So just chill. Anyway, brother, Oosterborn, or sister, I'm not sure if that's I can't really see in your name. But my friend, thank you so much for that question. Quality is always better than quantity. And you got to understand that it's not necessarily the harder you go, the better you go. And what I was talking about earlier with James is ultimately what I have found in my training, and in training the thousands of people I train. I do a lot of education. So I consider myself more of an educator than a coach, but I also coach a lot of people. And I'll have one-on-one clients. And so, but I've seen it in like the groups that I've trained, as far as like seminars and people keeping up with me. I've seen it in because I used to do online cohorts. Now I have the online course, which is a standalone thing. It's kind of at your own pace. I see it in my breath workers that I'm training to certify. It all comes down to quantity is what we think is going to be the thing. I want to do a lot of breath work. Okay. Well, you're breathing all day anyway. So you're influencing your nervous system with every breath you take. You're doing a lot of breath work. But the goal is to do quality breaths so that every single breath is high quality and that it's doing what you want it to do. That's what we talk about in language of breath. What message are you sending your unconscious self? What message is your unconscious sending back to you? And how do you know? Right. So that's the goal. It's not just about breathe hard, it's not just about just breathe. Right. And that's what we said early on. Early on, I was there too. We were all there. We were saying just breathe because nobody was taking breath work seriously. But just like everything, we've progressed in this field enough to know that saying just breathe is not necessarily the greatest advice, because just breathe. And hey, don't get me wrong. That it's better to do, like, for instance, is it better to exercise than not exercise? Okay. Well, to exercise. Well, what if you go and you're exercising and you have poor quality movements and you get hurt, right? And then you can't exercise and you're hurt. Well, okay. So once you getting started into something is a huge leap. That's the just breathe, right? But once you're in it, if all you're doing is doing the same thing harder and more often, you're actually usually hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself. And that's where you want to find people who are all about quality. It's not about, man, did you get your mind blown? Well, we'll blow your mind even harder, right? There are people out there, and I think a lot of them are very well-meaning people in the breathwork world today. You're seeing a lot of branching out in the world of breathwork. So I think a lot of them are very, very well intentioned. But I don't see a lot of really high quality. Now, I will say I do see a lot of high quality, and actually this is part of this video today. I haven't even gotten to the supplements that I received. We'll get to that maybe. I don't know. Maybe we won't even get to that. That's fine. I don't care. This is a free Friday. This is a fun Friday. But ultimately, where was I even going with that? But when it comes down to it, it's quality is superior. We're wanting to look at the quality of movements and then increase the number of quality movements. Okay. So yeah, whether it's diet, whether it's exercise, whether it is breathing, go for quality first. And then once you have a quality breath, once your breath wave is solid, okay, great. Now you can practice heavier and harder if you have quality breath, because at that point you're reinforcing a positive feedback loop. You're doing something good for yourself. Posture absolutely plays a big role in that. Let's see. James says the oxygen advantage could be the guy you're training from Ireland. Yeah, Patrick McEwen. He's awesome. Patrick McEwen has probably done more for breathwork than anyone with regards to research. That guy is a book writing machine. And I sent a copy of my book to him, my upcoming book to him, and he said very nice things, and you'll get to read what he wrote about my book whenever it comes out. But that guy has done so much research that, I mean, we all owe him a lot of gratitude just based off of the amount of research. If you've not read The Breath Cure, well, let me just say this. If you have read the entire book, The Breathing Cure, congratulations. That is like, it's like this thick, and it is like thick. I don't even think they were able to fit the bibliography in that book. It was just so packed, and you have to go to his website for the bibliography. I mean, it's, but no, this guy from Ireland, his name is Martin, and he is awesome. And he was supposed to actually train with me last year, but he caught COVID like right the day before he was to fly out and couldn't come. So this year he's going to be training. We'll have two people from other countries. We have a Canadian who's part of the Language of Breath Collective right now, and she's awesome. And then this year we'll add a Irishman, and then I think next year there's an Australian that is thinking about doing it too. So, yeah, Patrick McEwen is the author of The Breathing Cure, and it's a fantastic book. The research is solid. I'm really, really, really impressed with everything. I mean, Patrick McEwen, there's some names in the breathwork world that we know because they are enthusiastic, because they are, like charismatic characters. Patrick McEwen is not that, right? Patrick McEwen is a kind of a quiet, soft-spoken guy, but he knows his stuff. you're not going to see Patrick McKeown, in the same light as you might see a Wim Hof, just because Wim Hof is incredibly charismatic. But when it comes to research, when it comes to like really explain what's going on when we breathe, that's Patrick McKeown 100%. I myself am trying, I guess maybe I'm sort of in the middle, but I do a lot of bad dad jokes, but I also do my research too. I guess that's the former professor coming out of me. Let's see, let's see if there's any questions I missed earlier. I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to get to my email. So we'll see. James, it's serious subject, Jesse, and I'm glad you take it seriously. Love your enthusiasm and your passion. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Hey, Yaver. Hey, good to see you, my friend. Question. I have a question / issues, maybe related to cold exposure. Some kind of chilblains. Yep. Appear on my fingers. I wonder, might these be related to my cold showers and or cold weather? So the only time I ever caught, and the thing is, hey, Papa Geek is in the house. Skull, my friend. And real quick, I'm going to answer your question, Yaver. But Papa Geek, I was just explaining to a friend of mine just a minute ago. Hey, thank you. Thank you, brother. Yeah. I'm trying to get the beard to come down a little bit. But I'm watching Vikings. Every year about this time, I start. Usually it's in the fall. I shouldn't say about this time. Right now, it's maybe I didn't watch it all the way through in the fall. I started watching it and then I just got busy. But I started watching Vikings again, and dude. I mean, I haven't gotten to the part where Ragnar dies yet. He's still like the rise of Ragnar. That's the best part. After Ragnar, I get discouraged after Ragnar dies. Anyway, Yaver says, you've got the chilblains. Oh, and please excuse my pronunciation of that word. It's interesting. It's rarely spoken of in the cold training community. But it is something that's quite common, Yaver. And the thing is, you never know when it's going to happen. I went years with never getting any kind of chilblains, never kind of getting any kind of frostbite. And I think it was last year I got both. And if you're a fan of the channel, or if you watch me on Instagram, I walk barefoot in the snow a lot. And it's not like I'm going for great distances. It's not like I'm walking hours in the snow or even a half hour in the snow. But I've gotten to the point where my feet are pretty tough. They're really tough, and I don't normally have problems. This past year, I had some mild frostbite, and I also had chilblains in my feet, the strongest part of my body when it comes to the cold. And it sucks, man. It just sucks. Yes, it's probably related, especially with outdoor exposure. I have heard of many of my clients, not necessarily my clients, some of my clients, but people that reach out to me and that I talk to, and some people in the Patreon club have had it based off of, at least they say, from their cold showers. I'm not really sure how they got it from the cold showers, but it can happen. And my friend, I wish I had a good solution for you, other than, I will say, it's very rare. Like that, I had both of those things happen to me all at once, not at the same time. Like I got frostbite and then it did the chilblains in different places. Haven't had it happen since, and I've not changed my behaviors. You would think I would learn and then I would change my ways, but no. No. I'm in the ice just as much as I ever was now. I had to work my way back. Some of you guys have been watching my return. I was hoping to do more videos on my return to the ice. I'm still not up to ice bath every day, but I will probably take an ice bath. I probably will skip my ice bath today. I took a cold shower after my workout, and the showers are really cold here. It's about 4 degrees Celsius. I did it. I spoke in Celsius. I was speaking in Celsius. It's about 4 degrees Celsius coming out of my faucet. It is cold. And for those of you who live in the one country that uses Fahrenheit, I think there might be a handful of countries that uses Fahrenheit. That's approximately 40 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold. That's a cold shower, especially when you're in there. And so I've been getting into, at the start of the hour, I was talking about all these rock bands I've been getting into lately or going back to. And so I started listening to Silverchair's Frog Stomp album, and it's just been like, So, so I'm singing along. I'm in the shower. I'm having a great time, and a lot of time goes past. I spoke in Celsius. Anyway, so my friend Yaver, my best advice to you is to really take it easy on those areas. Don't push it. Really, really be safe with those areas until you are fully recovered in those areas, because you can really exacerbate an injury that way. And there's nothing good that will come of it. A lot of people, sadly enough, since the advent of the worldwide phenomenon of cold training, a lot of people get this weird idea in their head that they have to go hard or go home, or that their bodies will just adapt even if they are injured, right? So it's like, oh, I've got chilblains, I've got frostbite. I'll just keep going out into the cold and doing the same things over and over again without giving myself some rest. It's gonna get worse if you do that. So just be careful. Just be careful. Maybe chilblains happened on the lower extremities after inflammatory residue accumulates in some time, then one day it just flares up. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's a really weird one. I don't know why they happen so sporadically. There's a lot of things that is just like we don't really know. Like I think the biggest one is Raynaud's syndrome or Raynaud's phenomenon. Like no idea. And the thing is, I occasionally get it. I'll occasionally get Raynaud's. So like I'll have this part of my hand go completely white, or maybe it's this one, or maybe it's just part of my finger. It's random. And I never had that I never had that until I started cold training. I never had Raynaud's, but I get it sometimes whenever I do a hard cold training, and I'll have it. I'll be like, well, okay, there it is. I guess I have it now. But then the rest of the day, I won't have it. Or I'll do 20 ice baths later, not have anything happen. And then one day it just happens. Or one day it'll just be a cold shower. Not even really that challenging. And then I'll get it. So, and this is when it comes to cold training, this is why we have to look at it a little bit differently than you might look at a regular workout routine, because you're going to be like your performance when it comes to cold training is just it's difficult to it swings, like really, really swings from really awesome, man, I'm really super feeling the power and super feeling strong. And then the next day, it might just be the opposite. Like I can't handle even a minute in the cold shower. So if you would like more information on my style, my own, I guess, take on cold training, you can go to my website, A Practical Guide to Cold Training. That was my first ever book. And it's just an ebook right now. I'm working on making it a complete paperback. But I already have the Language of Breath book that I'm working on right now. So, my goal was to have this out next month, and it's just not going to happen, but it will eventually happen. I've got interviews from like these amazing cold trainers in the book. And if you buy it now, the ebook, you get a free copy of the updated version whenever that happens. So there's some cool stuff there too. The just relax technique. Yeah. Let's see. Hit the likes, people. Yes, hit the likes. Please subscribe. I appreciate that so much, James. I appreciate it a lot. Guys, I want to thank you all for being here. And it is such an honor and a privilege to have such a great audience. And hey, if you have other questions, please let me know. And to the one guy that actually emailed a bunch of questions that I was going to get to today, next week is another week, and next week I'll get straight to you, Doug, and we'll get to these questions. These are some really good questions about mostly let's see, looks like some cold training and quite a few different things we'll talk about. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. Have a great weekend. Thanks again to Magic Mind for sponsoring the channel. And I will see you soon. Look for my new video coming up really soon. My testosterone scores. I just recently checked up on my testosterone scores. Interesting information that's coming out very soon. You might be interested in. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Please like, subscribe. Don't forget to go out there and be kind to one another. Bye-bye.